we had a meeting this morning. It seems to be that they're looking into the possibility of making like you guys have a group. They're going to, it's not finalized yet, but there's talk of Israelis coming back also on the campus in capsules. Equals, they're going to have to be, I think, 26 guys in a group. They sleep in the same place, learn with each other, daven with each other. They can't integrate with any other group. The idea is that if one of them ends up sick, so then you only have to quarantine that group and not the whole thing. So no one's going back to the base medrash, but they're thinking of, just like you guys have this capsule of your own group, they're going to be doing the same thing with Israelis. The only thing is, the kids have to sign that they won't leave for 30 days. Now, that's not a regular habit with Israeli boys, but you guys have no problem. So that actually may happen. But I asked as far as the Magid Yashir is concerned, because I'm a bit bored sitting here alone. I'd love to go there. Maybrook, you were right. You did the right thing. But I can't. I have a ksuba. But the reality is that they said no. But then they'd have to have special like clothes and the works. Have to walk around like a spaceman, like Neil Armstrong to interact with you. That's like so ain't happening. So even the Israelis, when the boys will be here eventually, hopefully, if the Misrad Abriut and Misrad Bitachon and Misrad whatever else that gets together and finally makes, a final decision, then the Shurim will still be continuing on Zoom. So it does look like you may be having more people on campus. That's good. It does not look at the moment that we're opening up the base medrash per se. There is such a possibility that if all the Israelis would come back and quarantine themselves for 2 weeks and then have 30 days in capsules and no one's sick, then they open up the base medrash. But that means to say they have to be stuck on campus for 45 days. Now, the typical local boy will not do that. 45 days. That's like a Xerish and a Tzibur Yochalamin. But what would happen, then we could actually have the whole base medrash rocking. That would be nice. But the problem is, can you really assure that no one's going to break the rules? And that could be very dangerous. At the moment, this is our situation. So we're staying in this single yard now. Based on what you guys have been doing, we're hoping the Israelis will also be able to do. But we're continuing to Zoom, and I'm still stuck here. Yeah, okay. Actually, tomorrow my wife has to go for a corona test. She has high fever, so God knows. What happens, she should be healthy. Because she's okay, but she has corona. I got the problem. I have a lot of preconditions, which will not be good. Anyway, it should be good. Tyra. I was thinking a lot, why is the major segments in Orthodoxy would somehow, they're not taking care of themselves. And I guess it comes to a conclusion that it's a question of culture and education. I guess they don't realize that science is real. They've been taught all their lives that when scientists say X, we don't believe it. This we don't believe. This we don't believe. So I guess they just stop believing in everything. I can't figure it out to the life of me. The percentages of the religious people sick in this country are crazy compared to the regular country. If you look carefully, it's even unbelievable. The worst places in America are Brooklyn, Lakewood, and Muncie. Hey, Chaim, you hear me? Okay, I mean, you got to think about that. What's the common denominator? I don't think they have too many PhDs there. It's something to think about. So I guess this Torah and Mada makes sense after all. Okay, bon appetit, Saul. I hope it's tasty. Good, Mishnah. Had a rough day today arranging this test for corona for my wife, so I'm just landing into an island of sanity. Here it goes. Mishnah says, V'amavazes hamayadais. V'amefer brisa shavram avinu. Okay, let's try to understand what these things are. Mechalos hakodshim is pashut. Mavazes hamayadis. We know, for example, people walking around cholamayid and big day choyel. That's a din of mavazes hamayadis. So now you know. You don't give their chairs to cholamayid. It's called bizu hamayadis. It's a terrible minig and chutzlars. They're mavazes hamayadis. Or at least they're Mekayim and Mishnah and Pirkei Avos. So it says I'm Mavazes HaMayadais. And then it says Vamefer Brita Shavram Avinu, which according to Rambam means he refrains from doing he wasn't Malit. So there was all they were Malim Bikat Nusay, and they didn't bother to be Malis Atzman Bikat Nusay. That's what it means. Vamefer Brita Shavram Avinu. I don't think I have to explain what that means. Would that be alpha be what means to say what he says of shot in something which he knows is off the charts? What he means, excuse me, the opposite. It means Megala means to say that he does Averis before Hesya. Right, that's a Rambam. He does Averis before Hesya. That the thing is alpha appreciate brother Masim Toivim and the Chayv. Let's read the Rambam. Are you shame and embarrass your fellow man? You flaunt the Avera, you couldn't care less. You do it, but that's called a Baal of Betera. V'zeu zot the Rambam tachlis hakfira. K'moshe amru v'anefesh etasa b'yad Roma. Asiya b'yad Roma, flaunting the fact that you have disdain and don't care about halacha. That is called Megala Panim, which ain't l'chelet l'mabba. It's frightening. Megala Panim ba'azus. Megala Panim means he's maize. He's brazen. Zel l'shanam appears d'avazev hubik marpeya. Megala Panim b'teira. Ivral divrei teira for Heskir. Yakim and Yeshayah. What did Yakim do? He burnt the Askorus of the Sefer Torah. Mefer bris zamoishichle orla. What does that mean? Who mi shaloi nimal begadlai? V'imloi malo oisa b'kat nusai. V'sham amru b'chad v'arim shal amru chachamim b'em shal oisa oisam en l'chet b'olam haba. So what does it mean? Ma'anam kei, what are we saying in l'chet b'olam haba? Im b'shasa tshuva en l'chadavar m'fnei balei tshuvas. How can you say in l'chet b'olam haba? It does tshuva. El shalayas tshuva and meis b'yisurim. And he died, and he even had Yisurim, said Misa, and he had the Yisurim, which is the Chara Mechaper, and Misa's Mechaper. Claimer, Shechaimer, Isa Vesh Yisme, En Lechetum, Abba Yisme, Al Shara, Avesh, Yisurim, Ima Misa, En Mechaper. That's what's heavy. You know, you can eat on Yom Kippur, okay, even Stam Chil Hashem, so Misa's Mechaper. But Averis B'fer Hesya, B'shat Nefesh, this even Misa is not Mechaper. It's frightening. Misa is not mechaper. This is frightening. We understand what we're saying here? Misa is not mechaper. Misa is not mechaper. So this is the thing which is very much negate. And bizu hamayadus. If we don't care about kedushas hamayad, Misa is not mechaper. These are things which are negate to us. One more. Mishnah Bishmal Omer have a kal l'rosh. You should what the Rambam was calming ala kefa. Should they not be pleasant? Kefa, I think they say that in Hebrew. Kefa, ala kef, right? Ala kefa. That's good. You should be you should be relaxed with Reish, with those that are bigger than you. But so he said like this: Im is damantim adam rama maila. Asay atzmacha lefun of kal, v'shamesh lefun of kiyotzaynoi umusar atzmacha l'sherusa. Yeah, if you met a person of stature, so you should be be pliable, light, and go and serve him and help him as much as possible. If you have people which had hair and it's dark, equals they are tzeir b'yamim b'shanim. That you don't do. You don't give your up as a mishamish to a young person, only to another gavarabba. But what? Should never be bekalos or pashtus yisera for a person which is younger than him. You should be nice. You should be pleasant. But there's no way you don't. As we say, we didn't play marbles together. So that's what he said. So the Rambam ואל תחשוב שזה שיזהתיך מלונג בפשטוס עם הצעיר בשנים, מחייב שתקבלהו בזעם ופנים זועפים. No, it doesn't mean that. אין הכוונה כן, ראוי שתקבל כל אדם, קטנם וגדלם, הבן חיירים והעבד, כל אחד ממיני האדם. Any Homo sapien, any person, Jewish or not, every person should be appreciated, and you should feel whoever you meet, they feel that you're happy to see them. No, Shama just said Sever Panim Yafas. He says no, he says Mekabel B'Simcha. So this time it says it's not just enough to have Sever Panim Yafas, people should feel appreciated and they feel that you're happy to see them. Shlomo Kabach was an unbelievable kind of this Mishnah. You could feel that everybody spoke to him. Oh, Mama, he gave himself total to you. He wanted to hear you. It was like unbelievable. Any person, whether he's the homeless from Riverside Park, and whether it's Chveislish Remen or Rabban Kotler. So that's the crowd. Kal L'Raish, you should be light in front of other older people in order to serve them. Noach L'Tishchayres, the older people should be pleasant with the younger people. But they shouldn't be. They should be pleasant, but not light. They should be pleasant. But remember that pleasant means that you should be happy to. They should feel appreciated. So, if you see a teacher's job is to feel any person of stature. Yeah, his job is to make people feel that they're appreciated, that they're important. This is something I must say the honest truth that in the Chevron Yeshiva they worked on very heavily. It was a very important nekuda. I never forget this. I had a Talmud in this yeshiva. Afterwards, he went to Torah Or because he wasn't sure I was Orthodox. I'll never forget. After a week in Torah Or, he calls it, Rabbi, you're Orthodox. I said, how do you know? Because Rabbi Steinberg says the same thing you say. So I know I have a hechsher that I'm Orthodox, which is nice to know. Anyway, so this kid, he learned the Mishnah of Makal Panadim B'Sever Panim Yafos, and was walking around all day like a muppet with a Crest toothpaste smile. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. He made sure to say good morning first before everybody else. He looked like a muppet, you know what I mean? So I basically told him, man, you got it all wrong. Oh, Rabbi, that's a Mishnah. How can you say this? Whatever it is, we're the best of friends out of Yom Hazeh. That's an interesting reality. Trying to say you have to do these things in a normal, balanced way. Okay, let's go. Let's learn something. Oh boy, it's been a crazy day. Okay, so the Gemara says in Daf Kuf Chav Daled Amud Aleph, Yoshu Shtar Chayv. They inherited a contracts of debt, or what we call promissory notes, Shtar Chayv, or a contract, a deed of debt. Poor Netel Pishnayim, poor gets a double portion. Now, you just read that and ask yourself the question: what are we talking about? What exactly are they dividing? Are they dividing? The man, daddy left a whole pocket, a whole envelope full of shtaros, and let's see, equal sums. You get these, I get these. Is the chalukah and the shtaros? Is the chalukah and the shtaros? Well, if that's the case, the shtaros are the chayfetz itself. What do you wear? There's no issue of shrach. By the fact that you're talking about the money that will come in the future, and you're not talking about the shtaros, that means to say you come, for example, the chalukah is not in the shtaros. Well, why isn't it? Obvious question. Why isn't the chalukah in the shtaros? We know there's a din found in many places in Shas. When you want to be reminded something, for example, from Shavua, we say you need Dabra Metalto the Gufay Maman, Yatsu Shtaras She'en Gufan Maman. Very nice. They're not money of themselves, they're a way of getting money. That's very sweet. But so what? Why can't you be chaylik that? It's an entity, not worse than a cow. Why is Gufay Maman a criteria for chalukah? Maybe it isn't. Question is, why isn't there chalukah in the stars per se in the notes? They have the same value. I'm just taking to make it easy. The kids, I'm not taking kids with it. It's easier to say when they all have the same value. Different people, okay. It's like you can do a hit list. You take care of these three, I take care of these three. Okay, what's the problem? And then we're chaylik, the notes. The notes are davar shebe'en, and it's very simple. It should be pishnayim. By the fact that, now, is that what we're talking about? Well, then there's no chiddush on the table. And there's no reason for anybody to argue. And the whole sugya Namid Beis won't work. Before I look at the Rashbam, we clearly see the sugya Namid Beis took for granted that it doesn't work by Yoshu Milba, whether you get Bishnaim or not, the Gemara declares that that's only a Liba de Rebbe, not a Liba de Rabbana. And then there's even shilas of Gvias Karka versus Gvias Metkesef. If you open up the Sugi of Nardah, the last 3-4 lines of the page, going into Kuf Chaf Hey Amid Aleph, definitely we're not talking about dividing the notes, and the question is why. Should leave you hanging, because this is the question everybody should have asked. And if you did learn the Gemara, then I'm surprised you should have known that this is a Taisvus. Amid Beis, I'm not going there. I will read that Taisvus eventually. But that is question number one. Whatever it is, it seems to be taken for granted that we're not dividing the notes. Whatever reason it be. Okay, X, we're not dividing the notes. So what exactly are you dividing? And that's the question on the table. What exactly are you dividing? Are you dividing the, what's available in a chayt? Well, before we go into the particulars of what each one is, let's just use the terms we know. Well, first and foremost, when I give you money, you owe me, you are chayiv to give me money. It's just like when you break my window, you're chayiv to pay me. Now, is chayiv synonymous with shibud? The answer is no. There's a very famous piece I can say. Actually, this is one of the few which I actually know that the Rebbe Chanan Wasserman and Kovetz Shurim brings a Tshuvas Rashba. I say because as a child, this is the first time I heard of it, and that's why I always say it b'shmoi. Okay, where is this thing? Let me see. I should be here somewhere. 1 minute. Let me find it. I bent the page specifically. Oh no, not that one. 1 minute. Right, it's in Kovetz Shurim, Ice, Baba Basra, Shin Pei Aleph, all the way until Shin Pei Dalet. It's a good read, and then you can decide whether you agree or not. But in principle, he says an interesting halacha. I'll give you an example. What happens if you shot an arrow, and the arrow is in flight, and you died before it damaged, and then as your soul leaves you, it damages. Now, who's the damager? The man that died. We all know, if you ever learned Baba Kama Eshay Mishum Chitzav, because by a chetz, we see that everything that there's a famous question which the Nebuchadnezzar Yosef asked in Baba Kama. He says, how can you light Shabbos candles? If we see that every time you light fire, it's received as the action of man, like shooting an arrow. So then, hey man, her arrow, she is shooting an arrow on Shabbos. The fire is continuing. And the answer is no, it's exactly like an arrow. An arrow, all the action done is what you did when you put it into flame, when you let go of the bow, of the string, and then it flew. You finished. Everything later is a development or a continuance of your Maisa, but your Maisa ended then. So therefore, as far as your Maisa is concerned, you finished it on Friday. When did it happen? It happened on Saturday. You did it. Whatever you had to do was done on Friday. And when it happened on Saturday. That's very nice. So the Maisa, what's the Maisa Mazik? The Maisa Mazik, why you chayiv? Because you let go. But I don't understand. Before there was a chiyuv, you died. Are you pater? Are you pater? Since actually it didn't damage anything until you were already, away, Okay, so who's going to be chayiv? The mazik wasn't mazik yet. And the answer is no, he is chayiv. Chayiv is because you were mazik, you did a sibas hazik is there. When did it become actuality? Later, granted. But the sibas hazik was now. Same sword, for example, another example, what happens for a guy takes a para she'ula and mace or nensa. So who has to pay for it? A father died and he had a para she'ula, mace, nensa. Who has to pay for it? The Yarshim, Dr. Rambam, first Rambam Hilchos Shaila. Yarshim have to pay. What have to pay? What exactly? When is it chayiv? When it dies. When he dies, he's dead. The nechasim before already belonged to the Yarshim before. What's it got to do with it? I can show you quite a few examples. Nafkamin is going to be for ribbis or schirus. If you hold that schirus is an ongoing reality, day by day. No, he died in the middle, etc. What's the din? So Rabbi Chana puts on the big yesod. It's a yesod basically of Reb Shimon, if you really want to know. But since I first saw this as a child here, so I always like, I think it's the only one I ever quote. So the Zechariah Levracha, he writes, he says that in the Chanami, that the pshat is that the sibas chiyuv is not a shibud. The shibud is due to the damage done. There is money that must be paid. But the chiyuv is basically because of the ma'asi did the sibas chiyuv. The chayiv, you owe me, brother dear. Why do I owe you? Because I shot that arrow. When is the chiyuv chal as far as how much to pay? That depends how much you damaged. I'm going to quote his language, which is really very interesting. See if I can find it here. Where is this language? Here it is. Shibud nechasim einu toldam yishibud haguf, ela oisa siba ba'atzma shegarem is l'shibud haguf, garem is gamkein l'shibud nechasim. V'siba sachiv iya garem is l'shibud ha-nechasim. What you call va'azayrik chetzu meis, v'nishba akli achem isasai, goyim min nechasam. Af shemechayim lo nitchayev, mikam akam, kivin shesiba sachiv, zrika sachetz, haisa mechayim, mishtab denichsay. Exactly what I just said. So what I know now, before I go further, I realize the first thing in any debt is you received my money, you now owe me money. That's number one. It's what's called the chiyuv. The sibas achiv is receiving my money, and therefore you owe me money. Okay, it's reciprocal chiyuv. You got my money, you're mischayiv, you're chayiv to give me reciprocal money. That's basically what this is. Okay, I once heard this from the Rav, the name of Reb Chaim, that the get of Alvoi is it says chayvus because you received money, you're mischayiv money. That's the get of every Alvoi. Therefore, he said that if there's ribbis is also part of the chayv. You can be mischayiv as much as you want. Not about the Alvoi. That's why quite the most Rishonim ribbis is the chayv gomer. It's just usher, but it's a chayv gomer. The nafkamina is but on the Shulchan Aruch when it comes, for example, you don't have the din is you don't give that if the person which gave you the ribbis, the mitzvah is to give it back to him. But if he's dead, you don't have to give it back to his yorshim. You took ribbis, and the person the mitzvah is to give it back to the person who gave it to you. But if he's dead and only the yorshim, you don't have to give it back to them because it's not a chayv ma'amid, it's a mitzvah. And the mitzvah is between the malv and the leiba, not between the malv of the leiba and the yoshim of the malv. I just want you to understand. These are all things from Fushim Yeridea and Hilchos Ribbis, Gra. We can talk about that in Amid Beis when we get to the sugis of Ribbis. But at the end of the day, so I know one thing now. Now every alva basically, first and foremost, is a ma'aser which is machayv. It's called a chayv. Now what is that chayv? What is that chayv? Now what does that generate? What does that do? What does the chayv do? So I know one thing. I know the halacha is, the Gemara says in Subas Daf Peivav, that the Gemara asked the question, Amar Rav Kana Rav Papa. Rav Kana said to Rav Papa, L'didach, according to you, the Priyas Bal Chayv mitzvah, the Priyas Bal Chayv is a mitzvah. What happens if you said, I don't want to fulfill the mitzvah? Now, the all there explains the shita kubetz. It means because there's no shibudim. Shibuda lav de'iraisa. There's no shibud minat Torah. She doesn't want to do the mitzvah. What do? So the Gemara says, well, we force him like every other mitzvah. We're koif ala mitzvahs. So what do we do exactly? We force him to give money? No, we go worse. We collect the money from his nechassim. So if that's the case, I don't understand. If the mitzvah is to pay, to do an action of payment, how do you fulfill that by collecting money from his nechassim? And the answer is simple. That's not the mitzvah. The mitzvah is to make sure that the debt will be paid. So we force you through your nechassim to make sure that debt is paid. We take the nechassim from you, and therefore your nechassim and other cause that the debt is paid. So I know exactly what the chiyuv is. A chiyuv to do whatever to make sure that the debt is paid. I'm saying carefully. I didn't say to pay. That sounds like an action. If it would just be a chiyuv of an action, then us collecting from his nechassim would not make him do the action. But if the chiyuv is not to do the action of payment, but to do what it takes, or allow, or facilitate, well, even passively if necessary, the payment of the debt, well, then we help. We take his nechassim and we use them to pay the debt. That's also a tviyah. His nechassim are now the reason of the payment of the debt. This is a svara pshuta. Anybody will learn the mitzvah in Ksubas Peivav will understand that. So the mitzvah of this, first of all, there's a chayv. I owe you to make sure that this money is paid. Now, can't exactly divide that because that's nothing more than a relationship between me and you. It's like an evident and nadain. I, at the best, I owe you I have a relationship with you which causes me to facilitate the payment of a debt. So it is. Not exactly, obviously not dividable. What are you going to divide? It's not something you can give, something you can sell. It's a relationship between me and you. That's all it is. That's number one. Okay, so that we're not talking about here. What else is there? Then we have a concept of shibud aguf and shibud nechassim. First, let's explain the terms of what they are. For that, open up a Gemara in Baba Basra, Daf Kuf Ayin Hey Amid Beis. This is one of these sugyas that you have to know a few more pages all over the place before you know anything. So we'll learn the different things to understand what they are. The Gemara says in Kuf Ayin Hey Amid Beis, Amar Ula said, Dvar Torah, it's a biblical imperative, Echad milva b'shtar ve'echad milva al peh, whether it is a loan which was contracted, written in a deed, or whether it's just a oral loan, and therefore it was just oral, was not documented. Where's the nafkamina? Nafkamina is that a milva al peh, the din is hikantaina parati. In the milva b'shtar, we all know the din of shtorcha b'yadi, my boy. We discussed this at length in the sugya of Teich Zmanot. Okay, we explained the different possibilities of what that meant. I may have to go back to it. So both the milva b'shtar, milva al peh, goyvim and nechasim mishubadim. The Baal Chayv collects from nechasim which are mishubad. Now, what does that normally mean? It means from the mortgaged assets. Now, what does it mean from the mortgaged assets? So what does that mean? Obviously, if you collect from me, of course you collect. You can collect from my shirt off my back. What does it mean? Nechasim mishubadim. It means to say that even if you sold them, and now they are basically belong to somebody else, but they are mortgaged, and since they are mortgaged, therefore you collect those mortgaged assets. So min ha'Torah bein nechasim mishubadim, bein milva al peh, bein milva b'shtar, goyvim and nechasim mishubadim. My timer, what is the reason? Shibuda d'oraisa. There is such a concept of a pseudo ownership because a shibud is not a kinyan in a chayfetz. It's not even a kinyan in a pre of a chayfetz, a usage of a chayfetz. Normally, Bailus is either owning the object or usages of the object. Here it is actually owning the object for the purpose of collecting a debt. So it's not that you have a certain usage, not that you have a certain object, you have an object for a certain purpose. Okay? It's more than that. It's not that you own it totally. It's only you own it for a certain purpose. For example, if you have a debt on somebody, and now because that all of his nechasim are meshubat, it means to say you have ownership in those nechasim for the purpose of collecting of the debt. And once you collected the debt for one of the nechasim, well, then that purpose ceases to exist because it's only the purpose for collecting the debt, and the debt is not there anymore. Naturally, therefore, all the other shibudim become like a company that went bust. It's meaningless because you only owned it for purpose of collecting of a debt. As soon as the debt was collected, the other things just fall apart on their own. They disintegrate. There's no issue at all. So you own everything for the purpose of collecting a certain amount of money. This is called a shibud. So the chiddush is that there's such an ownership. Who said there's such a concept? The gedorim of ownership we know from the psukim of Mekach, a Memker, etc. We have no clue. Without a pasuk, how would you know there's such a concept of owning for a purpose of debt? So we say shibuda deiraisa. What's the makar, by the way? We'll see the Gemara. Shibuda deiraisa. The Rashi, Rashbam says, what's the makar? Shibuda deiraisa yotzi. This one, this may be important. I'm sorry. Yes, this is important. Excuse me. Shalom.
שלום.
כן.
מדברת דוקטור אביטל אלדר, אני מדברת עם מנחם?
כן, מדברת איתי, שלום, שלום.
אתה מדבר איתי?
כן, אני אדבר איתך עכשיו, אני מפסיק פעילות לשמוע אותך.
מה?
אני מפסיק את מה שאני עושה ואני מקשיב.
בסדר, אני שומעת אותך, לי יש, קיבלתי דף עם השם שלך ומספר הטלפון.
אוקיי, מה שקורה כזה דבר, אשתי יש לה חום גבוה, והיא באמת אושרה לבדיקת קורונה, והיא הולכת לבדיקה מחר כנראה בדרייב-אין. לי אין כרגע שום תסמינים, אין לי חום, למה אני מעל 70 עם סכרת, עם לחץ דם ועם אסמה.
שומרים על בידוד? זה מזה?
בשלב זה לא, מה זה בידוד?
אני לא שומעת אותך טוב.
אי אפשר לומר בבידוד, אנחנו באותו בית.
הם צריכים להיות בחדרים שונים.
כל הזמן?
לא שומעת אותך.
רגע אחד. כל הזמן, זאת אומרת, אוקיי. אפשר לסדר את זה פה, אנחנו שניים בתוך דירה גדולה. אנחנו שני אנשים בתוך דירה גדולה, יש אפשרות. כן. אוקיי. בסדר, ולי אין טעם לעשות בדיקה עכשיו, בגלל שעדיין אין לי תסמינים ואין לי חום. אוקיי, אז מכן ככה נתראה. טוב מאוד. תודה רבה לך. אוקיי. אוקיי. אוקיי, אז אני אתקשר. איך קוראים לך? אלדר, אוקיי. אוקיי, ב100%. תודה רבה לך, כל טוב. ביי. 1 minute, guys. What does that mean? That's talking about mashkoin. If you know the pasuk, Yotzalech Avoid. Avoid means the mashkoin, and we basically are drawing a parallel from the din of mashkoin to the din of shibud. A mashkoin also is a bailus and a chayfetz for the purpose of gviyah. Okay, Yotzalech Avoid achutz is the makkah of shibud deiraisa. And the Rashbam continues, din metal to karka. It's also karka. So one has to understand that the whole makkah of shibudim is basically from that we know that the pseudo ownership for the purpose only of collecting a debt. We learned it from Mashkin. That's a very important thing. You're going to need it in Amid Beis. That the makkah of shibudim. I suggest you read the Ramah there on the spot. The Gemara continues, Elamatam Amru, if that's the case, if shibud is there, Raisa. Now, what is the Mashkin exactly? It means whatever you're collecting is basically collateral for the basic debt. What does that mean? You own, what does that mean? Well, we know the Allah is Balchayf is kind of mashkin. You have a kinyan in the mashkin. What does that mean? You have rights in the mashkin for the collection. Especially in Mashkin B'Shas Havot, when I'm talking about that, this is a big sugi that one learns in Kedushin of Chesam and Beis, a big taishus there which has to be seen. What exactly are the rules of Mashkin? For example, by a milva ala Mashkin, a Gemara in Gittin, Daf Lamed Zayin, Shvius is not Mishamit. It's perceived as if it was collected already, in a way. Okay, because you basically have you have monetary rights in the object for the payment of the debt if the man defaults. So in a way, you already have the money in your pocket. You may have to change it, but at the moment you have the money in your pocket, you're called literally. Therefore, it's called kegavui dummy, and shvius is not mishamit. Look that up. It's lamed zayin or lamed vav. Let me just open it for a moment to make sure you don't make the mistake. Yeah, lamed zayin. Lamed zayin. So that's the halacha of that's the din of shibud. Remember this? We learned it from Mashkin, according to Rashbam over here. The Gemara says, if that's the case, why do we collect from the shubadin only from milva b'shtar and not milva al peh? Matam amru milva al peh ino gover l'chasim decharim. Mishum said to the lekuchas. It's a takanas chazal because if that's the case, lekuchas not knowing whether it says a mortgage on it or not, because it was written about peh, not b'shtar. And therefore, there's no coil. People don't know about it. And therefore, lekuchos will lose money. So Chazal were oiker that shibud. For the Gemara Yochi Milva B'Shtar Nami, that the Gemara Hosam Inu Nir Davsida Avshay. You did it yourself. You could have checked and found out because it was very easy to find out. The Gemara says, "V'Rabba Amar." This is a machlekes in Rabba. Dvar Torah Echad Milva B'Shtar V'Echad Milva Alpeh Einay Gaive Elam Nechasim Deichayr. You only gave him Nechasim Deichayr. Why? My time is Shibud Olav Deraisa. Shibudim is not deraisa, and obviously there's a difference between shibudim and mashkain, and we're going to have to understand what the difference is. But here we use shibudim of deraisa. We differentiate between mashkain and the regular class within a shibud. Okay, lav deraisa. Umatam amar milva peg shtar gayvim and chasim mishubadim. Kidei shalot you don't have if they love adraba. You don't have it. Now, where's the difference between the two? If you hold Shibud Deraisa, you're saying there's a quasi-ownership for Gvia. Means I actually now have it. The Chiddush is that by the Milva Al Peh, they decide that although you have it, you can't collect with it. That's possibility A, or they totally uprooted it, possibility B. This is an issue which is not negated to me at the moment. It's a big sugya of Shvur by Shibud course, which is not negated to me at the moment. Okay, that's what. According to Rabbah, the opposite is true. Rabbah seems to be saying that midiraisa there's no such thing as quasi-ownership. So then why there's no such thing? You don't own anything there. It's not even a mashka. Then why do you collect it? You collected simply at the Takanas Lakuchas. So what did the Takanas Lakuchas say? Did they create a quasi-ownership which doesn't exist at all? Or they simply said, no, you have rights to collect in other people's karka? Well, if you can get away with saying that, there's no reason to say the other. Which one is it? Did Rabbanan say that biblically you have no such thing as a quasi-ownership of a mortgage, but rabbinically we created this new phenomenon? Or did we say, no, we created nothing. We simply gave you rights to take his, the karka. Like Hefke, Bezman Hefke, we decided to facilitate the business and business loans that we're going to allow the Baal Chayv to collect even from the karkos which were sold, simply because otherwise people will not give loans and credit will stop and business will come to an abrupt stop. And that can't happen. They love you. Chazal were very, very careful that business should flow, and that's why they made a prosper and so many other things. Now, come to that idea, the community would be for one simple thing. Yerusha. If you hold Shibud Deraisa, okay, can a poor take Bishnai? So the Gemara says, just going down another line, I'm going to show it to you. The Gemara said that if you hold Shibud Deraisa, a poor takes Bishnaim in a milva. If you hold Shibud Lav Deraisa, there ain't no way. That's what the Gemara says. Let's read this inside. So the Gemara, Azoi. Mi amar Rabba Hachi. How can you possibly say that Rabba said that Shibuda Lav Deraisa? Well, Omar Rabba did not Rabba say This is the Gemara coming down shortly in the Kuf Chafei. Gavu Karka Yeshlai. If there was a chayv, which the Yisayim Yarshin, a milva b'shtar, and the collection was from Karka, Yeshlai, then the Bchor has Pishnai. Gavu Mars, but if he collected monies, Englai. It's not Karka, it's Metaltalin, and then Englai he does not have. What's the kasha of the Gemara? So the Gemara Shbam, Umi Amar Rabba Shibuda Lav Deraisa, Ha Amrina Bepek Eshneichling Kuf Chavdal Damit Beis, Sholchum Itam, B'chor Neutl Pishnai B'milve. The Amar Rabba Allah, and Rabba said on that, Gavu Karka B'chayv Saviyam, if they collected Karka B'chayv Saviyam, Yeshlai. Why? The Keman, the Mishavet B'chaya Avu and Dami. It's so to speak as if it was Mishubat B'chaya Avuam. It's a very interesting language. Kiman. It is Mishubat B'chaya Avuam. What's meant Kiman? It's as if. Okay, you're gonna have to learn the Gemara there to understand what this means. Whatever it is, it's based on the fact of Shibud. The Karina Be B'chol Asher Yamatzalai, and therefore it's called B'chol Asher Yamatzalai, and therefore it's not Roy, it's Muchzak. Alma Shibud Deraisa. What do we see? And that if the Shibud and you're collecting it, they were gaiva the karka, okay? Yeshlei. Now, by the way, are we talking here gaiva from a lekuchais? Here we're talking they're gaiva from the Balchayv himself. And we say you're gaiva from the Balchayv yourself, you're gaiva because of a shibud. Here we just learned that shibud deraisa is not just a right to collect from the lekuchos. It basically means you have a mortgage on a person's assets. And you're a quasi-owner in his assets. Therefore, even if he sells it, the sale will not uproot your rights. But basically, even when you collect from the man himself, you're collecting you're not collecting his money. You're realizing your money. That's what you're doing, which is the nature of a mortgage. A mortgage is not taking if you have a bank has a mortgage lien on your house. Okay, they're not collecting your house. They're realizing their rights in your house. They had rights in your house, and therefore these rights are called muzik. So the Gemara takes for granted that Shibud Deraisa is first of all not just from Lekuchas, but also Minei Didei from himself. And the din is what? And we're saying that what? That basically Gavu Karka Yeshlai Minei Didei is another Shibud Nechasim from himself. That's Mefurish. So Shibud Nechasim means even with yourself. That's number one. The Gemara says, how can you punish with Lav Deraisa? The Gemara says, Eipuch, V'chitei Me'eipuch. Flip it around. Say no. Say that Rabbi holds with Shibud Deraisa and Ula holds Shibud Lav Deraisa. But Amar Ula Dvarter B'chayv Gaiva Dina B'ziburis, whatever, Ella time of the name, Rava Kamalei, Rava Leisvirlei, whatever it is, it boils down that Einach Nami Rava holds Shibud Lav Deraisa, and what's written of Kuf Chadal Damid Beis, it's not his day, it's his interpretation of the Das of Reb Nachman, which is on Shema Rava. That's the sugya at the bottom of the page there. We see clearly from here, there's a concept of Shibud Deraisa, which is a quasi-ownership of the assets, and therefore, even if you collect it from the man himself, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. That is as far as Shibud Nechasim is concerned. So now we know what exactly is Shibud Nechasim. We paskin la'alocha Shibud Deraisa, big shach, 2 pages and a half in Siman Lamed. We pass in Shibud Deraisa. It means to say that I have monetary rights in your assets for the purpose of collection my debt. So I am a quasi-owner. That I can understand. And this seems to be the reason why I'm called a muhzik. That's the Shibud Deraisa. That also takes for granted that you have assets. The Shibud Deraisa is one reason. Let's go further. Without that, there would be anything to talk about. That's what it seems to be. Now, what happens about not karka, but about metaltal? And here we see that even if I collect me day to day from the fellow himself, I'm also realizing my mortgage. Now, the fact of the matter is, what about if he doesn't have karka? He has metaltal, for example, or things like that. Okay, what happens if I'm just collecting money? You're giving me money. Am I collecting something mortgaged, or is you just giving it to me because you owe me money, period? Well, there's another concept called Shibud Haguf. Okay, now how do we know that? Well, this goes back to the Gemara in Ksubas Daf Pevav Amid Aleph. The Gemara there says, again, Amalei Rav Kana le Rav Papa, Rav Kana said to Rav Papa, L'didach, The Amrit Priyas Bal Chayv Mitzvah. I'm going to read this inside. The Didach, the Amrit Priyas Bal Chayv Mitzvah. This is the last 5 lines of the page. Pei Vav Amid Aleph. Omar loy nichali de avid mitzvah mai. Whatever he says, I don't want to do a mitzvah. Omar loy tanina. We learned by medva ma'amorim b'mitzvahs loy taseh. Aber mitzvahs aseh ken sho'amlu aseh sukkah ve'na oisay lula ve'na oisay makin oisay chetetzei nafshay. That's the halacha. So what does this lididach mean? The Gemara says, when do you only have malchus arbaim if you're doing a aveira? If you don't want to do a mitzvah, we beat you to a pulp much more than 40. Okay? He's going to scream mama, and then he's going to do it. Okay, so this is the halach. It's called kfiyah ala mitzvahs. Now here is where your question lies, and that is, what is lididach? You. So different versions of what this is. If you open up a shita mekubetzes here, in the name of the Ra'ah, the Ra'ah Rabbeinu Aaron Halevi of Barcelona, the Chavrusa of the Rashba, the prime Rebbe of the Ritva, if you really want to know. Okay, the Rashba has a book Teres Abayis, which is constantly there's there Hagoy, so there are and his answers. It's like the Tzais and the Sifra, at the Rambam and the Ravid, the Rashba and the Ra'ah. They're like a couple. Okay, so the Ra'ah says over there, L'didach da Amrit Shibuda Lav de Oiraisa. You that hold Shibuda Lav de Oiraisa, and therefore it's nothing more than a mitzvah. If it's only a mitzvah, what happens if the guy doesn't fulfill a mitzvah? And the answer is, we're kaif ala mitzvahs. Mashma, that if it would be Shibuda de Oiraisa, it would not just be a problem of a mitzvah, it would be an aveira. It would be an aveira. And that's a mafurish Rashi. Rashi writes in Gittin, over there in the Sugya and Daf Lamed Zayin. More asked the question, Bisman Hazeh, Beinatayim, Shvius is only D'Rabbanan. It's going to change shortly. As soon as Rav Yeshua Aleh, as most of the nation, which is really Jewish, really Jewish, lives in Eretz Yisrael, then all the coolest of Trumas and Meister and Shvius and Heter Mechir fall away. It's finished, and then Shvius is Deraisa, and it's really not going to be easy, but that's a mitzvah say Deraisa. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. But now it's D'Rabbanan, and since it's D'Rabbanan, the practical matter is that we still have Shemitah's Ksafim. If you don't do a prosbo, what's the halacha? You don't pay the debt. And the question is, how does this work? How do the rabbis create a reality that basically they undo debt? You owe me $1 million, and all of a sudden you don't owe it to me. How does this work? So the Gemara says, how does this work? So the Gemara, this is actually Lamed Vav Amid Beis. In Lamed Vav Amid Beis, it says, Umi Ikemida, the third line on the page, the Midaraisa Loy Misham Teshvius, with Kina Rabbanan de Teshamet, is there such a thing that Midaraisa is no Shvius, and therefore you have to pay your loan. But Kina Rabbanan de Teshamet, Zog Rashi, Umi Ikemida, the Midaraisa Loy Misham Teshvius, Bisman Nazek Rebbe, V'Omer Rabban de Teshamet, V'Nimtza Haloi Ve'Gazlon Al Piyeh. You're a gazler. Now, what are you a gazler exactly? What are you a gazler? You're stealing something? That means that you have something of mine which you are upholding? What are you holding? Milva like son, I gave you the milva, it's not mine. You used it, it belongs to you. Before you used it, it's another shiloh. But Pasha, after you started using it, even the pruta, the whole milva is yours, totally. Before you used it, it's like a pikad. I can be chayzer. But as soon as you touch the pruta, that's a gemara, and that memzaynu and bezin kedusha. But as soon as you touch the pruta, gamarnu. It's yours totally. It's a pikadim which became yours. Okay, that's the get of a milba. Okay, so now it's yours. So you don't make my money. So where's the gzela? Let's make this. Why is it called the gzela? So the chinuch doesn't ask the question, but gives the answer. The chinuch writes. I got them. In mitzvah Tov Ayin Zayin, at the end of the mitzvah Tov Ayin Zayin, literally the end of the mitzvah. So the chinuch, The AFOP, Shashmatas Ksafim Akshav Dirabanan, Vikaima Shibuda Deraisa. That's part of the question. And since we hold Shibuda Deraisa, we have a question. What's the kasha? Kasha is because if you hold Shibuda Deraisa, it means to say, yes, you have money in my pocket. Whether it's Shibud Nechasim if I have Karka, or even Shibud if I even have Metalpin, within Shibud Aguf. Shibud Aguf does not, what Shibud Aguf means according to this, it means to say, I have rights, not in your objects, but in your rights of ownership of your object. That's why whether you had the object b'shas alvor, or whether you get to buy the object later, it doesn't matter. It's you literally are my eved to beget a koma shekona eved kana rabbi as far as gvias hachayv is concerned. That's what shibud aguf means l'chayra according to the chinuch. And therefore, you have to give me mine. There's no karka, but you have money. You have a shirt. Your ownership of the shirt. I have rights in your ownership of your shirt. And therefore, if you're not letting me realize my rights in your rights of ownership of your shirt, then you're a gazlan. Gazlan means not letting somebody realize his money. And that's what you're doing. Nimtza leivin gazla alpiyim, that's a Rashi lamed vav amid beis in Gittin, and the chinuch is beautiful. So the chinuch, how can you possibly say you don't pay debts? Shibuda deraisa vashteta. It's not just a mitzvah. If it would just be a mitzvah, we would say, so Rabbanan told us we don't do the mitzvah. No problem. The problem is it's not just a mitzvah, it's an avera. It's an avera. An avera, you don't say yesh kef, that's what pashas, we don't say yesh kef, you should do it, that's the pashas. If that's the case, what's the text of the Gemara? So what does the chinuch end? The chinuch if the keichze b'chol davar shebamayin yesh koyach b'yad chacham litchis dvar Torah mitam the hefker bed than hefker. It doesn't say yesh koyach b'yad chacham litchis dvar Torah b'shev al tasei because that's not applicable here. Because why can't they do it here? Because of hefker bed than hefker. That's the first in the chinuch in the last two lines of Mitzvah Tov Ayin Zay. Here we have. Now, I know the chinuch is really not the Ra'ah. For generation that thought it was the Ra'ah, we now know it's not. It's a contemporary of the Ra'ah. We know that by now. We know it's definitely not the Ra'ah. It's a contemporary of the Ra'ah. But we clearly see a similar train of thought that both the chinuch and his counterpart, the Ra'ah, believe that the chiyuv to pay a debt is simply because I have monetary rights in you made a schayvus. And this created a shibud. The fact that you received my money, you now owe me money, and this gave me now monetary rights in your rights of ownership of your objects. And once you don't pay, you're not letting me realize my rights, and that's not kamina. The cloud is shibud the rights means say I'm never taking your money. I'm realizing mine. That's the yesod. That's why it's called musik and not roy. That's why the Gemara here understood in Kuf Ayin Hey, therefore it shan't have a Pishnayim. This is just to put this on the table to understand this. This is the Chari the Agdor. So we have both Shibud Nechasim and we have Shibud Aguf. Now, whether this Shibud Aguf can be sold, there's Stadim Lekan in Seichel. On one hand, Shibud Aguf, if it's nothing more than I have monetary rights in your ownership of objects, well, just as you can sell the objects, can you also own my rights of ownership in the object? Interesting question, but Pashtus, no. The only thing is like selling an eved. With greatest respect, this is not din of mechira savadim. There's no regular din of mechira. The only way you can sell legal rights of people is either transferring rights of people, or either through marriage, or through mechira savadim. So the Pashtus says there's a big tzad to say that you can't even sell that. But I want you to know there's one sheet in Rishonim, which is Mefurish, the Ravan, and Simon Kuf, the Mitzvah, I'll show it to you, that you can sell that too. That sheet is a Ravan. But overall, in pure logic, we can understand what I'm doing here. So I talk about the shibud ha guf. It's clear to me that you can't exactly sell that. In question, you can bequeath it. Can you bequeath it? Is there such a thing that now I also have the shibud aguf? If a malva dies, does the Yisraimim ayorish the shibud haguf? Well, that's a possibility. May not be a mechir. It's a din of Yerusha, and since the get of Yerusha is that the children stand in place of the father, that's a natural transformation. It's a possibility. I can see that carefully. Okay. What about the shibud hanechasim? What about shibud hanechasim? Those are rights in an object. Just like you have rights for usages, you have rights also for collection. That's right. That l'chayr is something that can be sold. And they know chinami. Everyone agrees that shibud hanechasim can be sold. So now let's go back here. We know so far there's the chayv. The chayv doesn't mean something you can sell. The chayv itself definitely cannot be divided. Okay, what about the shibud ha-guf? Interesting. So we talk about the shibud ha-guf. Can it be sold? You can never be inherited. Can it be sold? Really interesting question. Can it be divided? Is there chalukah in the shibud ha-guf? Ask yourself a question. Is there such a thing as transferring ownership outside of the din of Yerusha proper, which is memela, through in a shibud ha-guf? Interesting question. What about the shibud nechasim? Oh, of course, why not? If you can buy it and sell it, you can divide it. We're doing good. So l'chayra, only the shibud nechasim, which means that if there are nechasim there, not if there's anything, every malva has rights in the man's nechasim. Those nechasim which were there, b'shas, the chayv. What happens in the chasim he buys afterwards? That's a sugyas like Gemara, also the ikni. All of it's some achlekes whether you shibud the thing. If you made a shibud on things which would come later, whether it works if you stipulated it been flourish. Lalach we paskin it works. The shaila is what happens if he didn't say write the ikni. Do we say take for granted that he meant it, although he didn't write it? Or no, he dafka has to stipulate it. That's a big child. We learn the Gemara Mitzvah. It's in Kufnun Zayin in Bava Basra. That's the sugya there. At the end of the day, here's your nafkim. So what we have so far. We have a chayv which is not nitnu lechaluka. We have the shibudim, the shibud aguf. Something to contemplate. Is there chaluka in there? What about the shibud hanechasim? The chayv, yes. There should be chaluka there. Is that called roy or is that called mukzik? So if yod shibud deraisa, interesting question. The Gemara took for Rava definitely says it's called mukzik. That's what the Gemara says in Kufay and Hey Midbeis over there in Dasnar. The question is, we have to ask ourselves the question: is this called mukzik? You have a right of collection, but in the meantime, someone else is holding it. He can hypothetically not let you get there. What's the din? Is this like a svina belev yam? It's like I have a boat which is in the middle of the ocean, which I don't know whether it's going to come to shore or not. The Ramapatzkins and Ichus Nachlis Peri Gimalacha Alp. That's called the Roy, not mukzik. There's even things that you own. If you don't know for sure you're going to get it, it's not up to you, or there's no natural process that it will come. There's a lot of other variables. That's like that's not even called shvacha de memela. It's definitely not called mukzik. Okay, so now the shaila is by shibud nechasim. What's the halacha? This is an interesting question. It's very clear without shibud deraisa, there's no way it can happen. The question is, do we think that shibud deraisa alone is a reason for it to happen? Well, if that's the case, if it would be true, then a chayv would be, the chalukah would be in the kibbut kakos, and that the halacha would be, it wouldn't be called a question of shvach or not shvach. It's simply mukzik, and there shouldn't be a machlekes of Rebbe and Rabbanan. And since there is a machlekes of Rebbe and Rabbanan, so obviously this is not the issue. And the question is, why? Okay? If we're talking, obviously we're not doing a chalukah of the shibud and the chasim. The question is why? Well, first of all, we can always say we're talking about the milva. The shibud and the chasim takes for granted he has the money he has the assets in there. Meshubah. We're talking about milva even in a case where there is no karka. Well, this man doesn't have karka. There is no shibud and no chasim. Alpha pk. What's the din of Yoshua milva? So I'm just pointing out, l'chayra, according to that, if there is karka, there wouldn't be a problem. Is this true? That for that you really have to go back and learn that Gemara. That's what I'm bringing up the questions for you to have eyes to what to look at the Gemara with. So l'chayra, this is your question. It will also be limited. It will be limited specifically to having karka. And then the question would be that in a milva alone, you would say maybe there's no isn't. But if you're a karka, which means there is karka there and it wasn't meshubah, that's another story. But what happens if there is no karka there? There is no karka there, and we're only talking about the mo. So l'chayra now, is there shibud nechasim on metaltalim? No, there's no shibud nechasim on metaltalim. Shibud nechasim is only on karka. Rashbam explains in two places because the person is the when he gives and takes a loan, the das is on something which is stable, which you know you can always be there. Metaltalim, God knows, I'm not going to make a shibud on something which I see today and won't be here tomorrow. That's a davar pashut. So there's no shibud nechasim on the metaltalim. Granted, bingo. But l'chayra there's a shibud aguf. Good, but the shibud aguf we said before is not nothing but chalukah, so there's no problem. So l'chayra, when I go to my sugya, I'm not talking about shibud nechasim. I'm not talking about the chayv. Am I talking about the shibud aguf? That's not nitn lechalukah. So what exactly am I talking about? That's the question. What am I talking about? The chayv is not nitn lechalukah. The nechasim we're not talking about, because that wouldn't be shvach or not shvach. That's mamish muchzik. It's got nothing to do with Rebbe Rabbanis. We're not talking about shibud nechasim. Obviously, we're talking in the case where it's not applicable. For example, where there are no nechasim. Right? What are we talking about? The shibud aguf. Well, if shibud aguf at the best is nothing more than my rights in you for your rights of ownership, that's like a kiyanim of avodim. Maybe there's chalukah on such a thing. Is there chalukah on the shibud aguf? That's a serious question. Is there chalukah on the shibud aguf? If there would be chalukah on the shibud aguf, so what do I have? I have rights in your ownership for X amount of the loan, and you have another X amount of loan. Why would that be called shvach? Why wouldn't that be called a mamish right, a monetary right, which you can be chaylik? Why would it be a problem of Rebbe and Rabbanah? So no one's talking about the shibudim. It's clear as day, and no one's talking about the chaylik. That's clear as day. It seems to be that there's no chalukah either in shibud aguf or in shibud nechasim. What's left? We're talking about the money which will come in the future. We're talking about the money which will come in the future. And what are we saying? The money that will come in the future, what are we saying? Is that called shvach? Shvach of what? Now let's go back. Is it shvach of the chayv? Is it shvach of the shibud? Well, you can't call it shvach of the shibud. The shibud is not nitn lechalukah, so it's meaningless. So what are we talking about exactly? I simply want to know Yoshu Shtar Chayv. What exactly are they dividing here? It's shvach of something. Well, let's understand the lashon of, first let me just put this in. I will explain much more in depth as we go on to this. Let's look at the lashon of the Rashbam in Kuf Chav Daled Amid Aleph and try to figure out from there. Yoshu Shtar Chayv. Hainu milva b'shtar. It's a milva b'shtar. Chor noitel pishnayim. He takes a double portion. Why? The kivin the muchzak b'shtar. Oh, he is muchzak. Translation word Muslim means total control. Right? Doesn't mean he's holding it. It means he has total control. That's what we're talking about here. He's muzik in the shtar. Grant, he's muzik in this great piece of paper. V'alpi ashtar goyvim es milva. As with this shtar that we collect the loan, hareyu ki'ilu ashtar yishpiach, so to speak, the shtar, the document itself, has produced profit. Hello? What does that mean? And what does it mean? Ki'ilu yishpiach. I love the words ki'ilu. They give me the hives. Is it or isn't it? Obviously, it's not. It's like. When you say it's like, it has to be explained. Okay, what does it mean? The shtar was mushbach. What does that mean? Is the collection the value of the star? No, we know there are markets for promissory notes, bonds, okay? But that market has nothing to do with you don't get the value of the chayv. Much less that market takes into account the fact that, well, who says we're going to get the money and how long it will take? You're probably cutting it down by 30%. So are we talking about here that the collection of 100% of the debt is the market value of the bond? That's simply not true. The market per se is 70%. And here we're talking about a 100% loan. So what does it mean that the 100% loan is called the shvach, the profit of the shtar? If we're talking about the shtar per se as the asset, the shtar per se is nothing but what is it? It's a bond and it has a market. Granted. And as far as that's concerned, we have a new question on the table. Well, why don't we at least talk about that? And then everybody should agree that it's not shvach. It's basically what is it? It's the value. Let's divide the shtaris now. That's what they asked in the beginning. If we're going to look at the market, the shtar as a market entity, which has a value now, divide it now. And if you will wait till it matures, you'll get the whole loan. That'll be that we'll collect later. But now he has the shtar. No one's talking about that. We're all talking about getting the money because the shvach of the shtar that we have. The father had the shtar, and therefore the monies are the shvach, and it's called the shvacha, the mamela of the shtar. Or shvacha the yitzia, this we'll see soon. It's called the shvach of the shtar. So what does that mean? It clearly doesn't mean the market value of the shtar. Collecting the debt with a shtar is not the value of the shtar. It's simply not true. You must know that there's a bond market, and believe me, you don't sell it according to what the price which is there. And when I was a kid, we used to get Israel bonds for bar mitzvah. I don't know if they still have that. Okay, see, I don't know what I did with them. Okay, I think they're in shkolim, so it doesn't matter. But whatever. Okay, going back there. So let's make this. What does it mean? Ki'ilu ashtar yishpiach. And the word ki'ilu is like, what does that mean? What does he say further? Umiyu aliba de rabbana ena notel pishnayim. Asik the milsa the Rebbehu. The Gemara says the maskana is actually not totally true. It means the end of the sugya until the 2/3 of Chuf Chav Daled Amid Beis. Afterwards, the Gemara gives a possibility of the country rabbana also. Let's look what it says weiter. That has to be checked to see whether that's accurate. And the Rashbam is pushing it. Now we'll see soon. B'davka milva b'shtar, but it's only by Yoshu shtar chayv. We're already telling you we're not talking about the shtar per se. It's only milva b'shtar. So when he says Yoshu shtar chayv, it means they were Yerush a milva sheb'shtar. B'davka milva b'shtar. Because if I've been taking the question was the shtar itself, obviously the milva shmalpeh doesn't have a shtar. So no market value of anything we're talking about. So it's very clear we're not talking about the shtar as the essence itself. Because the shtar is something alone and it has its shvach that only applies by milva b'shtar, doesn't apply by milva al peh. So the simple reason why not milva al peh, because it doesn't have a chayfetz, which is mashbiach. And he doesn't say that. What does he say? He says, Dafka milva b'shtar, ava milva al peh, va'afilu be'edim. Why is it afilu be'edim? Because there's a machlekes in Gemara with a loan given through witnesses. Must you also pay back through witnesses? And if you didn't pay back through witnesses, you don't have a claim of parati. So it's like a edim. The halach is a malvis chaver be'edim ain't sorry for be'edim. So milva al peh, you always have a claim of parati. Even the lekish Torah umatzah litin parati lach. The malvis chaver be'edim ain't sorry for be'edim. Afilu Rebbe Moide the lay shakel pishnayim. The ein muchzakim meichayv zeh klal. The nema nanechasim shafcha me'atzman. What doesn't he say? He doesn't say because there's practically no chayt is called a shtar, therefore a shtar is not mashbiach. He's saying, what is the nechet that you're muzikin in what he calls the chayv? And he says that basically the reason normally, if hypothetically there would not be a tiny parati on a milva al peh, since you are muzik in the chayv, Therefore, Mamela, I'm going to say that the money coming out of the chayv is called shvach of something that you're muhzik.
Rabbi, doesn't it say kaven deleka shtara?
I know how to read. Let me take it slow. You have to take the whole thing. What does he say? Since there's no star, therefore, Mamela, there's a times parati. There's no times parati.
He says two different. He says kaven deleka shtara. Umati limitam parati lecha.
And parati, you have to put that together.
Why?
What does mechoivza mean? It's clear what he's saying is that the necklace that we're talking about is the chayv. And if there's a tinus parati, so you're not called muzik in the chayv. And therefore the money that comes later is not money which you are muzik in. It's shvach be'alma. You're not muzik in it. It's called roy. Masha enken, if you were muzik in the chayv, it would work. That's what he says. Now, your music in the chayv now, if that's the case, what does it mean? Why does he mention before? I want you to know that the Ksais, I think it's also, it's Reisha and Vav says that the second part of the Rashbam is lav dafka. You know, goodness sakes, I don't even want to explain why. I hope you don't accept that. Okay? Look it up. Lav dafka. I always say, God, maybe lav dafka Yom Kippur, and we can have supper, you know what I mean? You know what? Maybe when I think Paul said loved after the seventh day, try Sunday. It was made loved after. I don't understand certain things. I don't understand. I don't know how to answer the question. I don't know how to ask, but I just don't understand. Okay, zikr it's dafka. So let's understand what we're saying here. We're clearly saying there's a relationship between the chayv and the star, and basically by having a star. Therefore, this gives you a different type of chayv. You have a different muchzakus in the chayv. That's what we're talking about here. By having the star, you have a different muchzakus in the chayv. Qualitatively, a star is something which is a different muchzakus in the chayv. And since it's a chayv, which is a different type of muchzakus, then that's why it's different. And that would put the whole language of Rashbam together. Before I explain it, just see what he says. So he says originally, he says ki'ilu ashtar ishbech, which is correct. It's ki'ilu ashtar ishbech, and the mice is the shvach of the chayv. But because now, what is the place of the star? We'll have to explain. But it's ki'ilu ashtar. It's not value of the star. Clearly not. It is the outcome. Is the payers of the chayv. I have a chayv, and the chayv gives money. My chayv is the equivalent of pura muchkeres and muskeres, which there too, there is my kapara, and basically you have a chayv. You have a chayv to give me money. And that pora I'm muhzik in, and therefore that generates money, and the money that I set up, and my money machine gives me money. That's called shvach, which works. Well, here it's the chayv. The chayv definitely works because there's no times parati on this chayv, and therefore that's a money machine. But there's one nafkamina that l'chayr, at least by the pora, there's an entity which is shaykh to chalukah, and therefore you're muhzik it. Not muhzik in a chayv, it's a situation. How do you become muhzik in a chayv? You control the chayv. We say the chayv will definitely give you money, but he definitely owes you the money. He can't walk away from owing. How does it facilitate that you're definitely going to get it? And the answer is because the star is basically the hands of the chayv. The star is the kli which is used to realize the chayv. The chayv is the mechayiv of the money, and you cannot walk away from that sibus achiyuv as opposed to milva pay. You can simply deny it. You can say loyad varma'ilam. You can say parati. You can undo the chayv. You can't undo the chayv by milva b'shtar. But who says you're going to get the money? So it's blood. Sfina b'lev yom. It's yours. We know it's yours. But it's sfina b'lev yom. Who says you're going to get it? And the answer is no. This chayv has fingers to it. It's called the shtar. It has handles to the cup. It's a hot cup, man, but you need a handle to it. The handle is the shtar. The shtar is the kli which makes the cup, the chayv into something which is actually, you can actually realize the money with it. So between the defined chayv, which you cannot deny, and between the tool, which will definitely bring it to you, that's not sfina b'lev yom. It's simply pora muchkeres u'muskeres. So to speak, the shtar is my pora. Why? Because the shtar, basically, I have something which is the reason I'm going to get it, but that's not enough. And here's the difference. It's slightly different than pora muchkeres u'muskeres. By pora muchkeres u'muskeres, I have own money which will create new monies. Here, it's not your money which will create money. You have a way, you have a definite mechanism to get money. Granted, a definite mechanism to get money, but you have a definite mechanism that you control. You are controlling a situation and an object which is going to give you money. So your star became a money machine because it represents a chayv, not the star itself. The chayv is there. I have a chayv which one can't be denied, and I have a fingers to that chayv which is going to give me that constant thing. That is also called star. That's the chayv what the Rashbam is saying. Then you can put the word shvudensky ilu hishbiach hashtar. It's not really shvach of the star. It's through the star. It's called hashbachas hachayv.
Rebbe, the Rashbam implies that if you were to paskin that you do need
I'm not
Eidim.
hearing you well. W, say louder again.
Sorry, the Rashbam says that if you do need Eidim to pay back a star, then you
Not a
would.
star,
then
it's about pay.
sorry, to pay back a halva, then you.
Then there wouldn't even be a chayv. It's worse. Don't you understand? If you need Eidim, you don't even have a chayv. It's garnished. There's two stages. First of all, is the chayv muchla. Second of all, even if it's muchla, it needs fingers. Will it bring money? So by milval peh, if you needed Eidim parati, granted, what would be what he's saying like this? By milval peh, he's saying here you don't even have a chayv because there's not even a din of chocolate parvei. He didn't say b'meila because muflik. He's just pointing out. Look at carefully what he's saying. He's saying
It says,
no. You're not listening. He does not write that. In that case, it would be called music. Find those words. I'll eat my hat. He's just accentuating what is the chisorin in milval peh, because milval peh is as such that you don't even have the chayv. He doesn't write. Don't say miklal lavet shemei hain. No, that's what he said. You have to put the whole thing in context. No, I need a star. It's clearly that I need a star. But by milval peh, not only don't have a star, it's a tool. I don't even have a chayv. Masha'enke by milval b'shtar, I have the chayv and I have a star. That's what he's saying. We all know that milva peh, milva b'shtar, the fact there's no time is parati, you know the biskarov like me, is lav dafka because of the anasadi, because that's the nature of the chayv. We all learned this when we did Daf Hey. The nature, a milva peh, the chayv is such, it doesn't have a time is parati. We did this by I'm not going to explain it now. There's two issues here. The shtar functions as two things. The shtar is the identity of the chayv. The star is the tool which will realize that. The matzav of milva b'shtar says there is no times parati. That's the quality of the chayv. The chayv is muchlat. But so what? Chayv is muchlat from Haim bis Morgen. It's like Sfina b'lev yam. The Teretz says, no, this is not that way because there's also a shtar for gvir. So that's what you have here. That's how you have to read. Otherwise, this won't make sense. This is the chayv to read in the Rashbam. Think about it though. I repeat, there's nothing in the Rashbam that says if that would be the case, it would be called music. If you'd be right, that'd be tremendous. It's not true. It doesn't say it there. I'm going to repeat this again. He's dealing at two levels. First of all, is it my sfina? Yeah, a chayv for what? The idea of chayv being translating into money. This doesn't translate into money. There's no reason to think, by milval peh, the reason you're going to get the money because he's nice. He can say parati, and he decides to be a nice person. You're not getting the money because of your control. You're getting the money because of his honesty. The chayv, you don't have anything which gives you the money. His honesty gives you the money. By milva b'shtar, first of all, no, your control of the chayv gives you the money. That's number one. Good, so very nice. You can't time parati, but you can say la adam. So you need a star. The star will tell you that there's also those things la adam. Or hypothetically, the star is also the thing which therefore I can collect wherever I can collect, however you're going to define it. That's the Agdor. That's the Pshat L'Chayra in this Rashbam. So if that's the case, what I'm seeing here is, we're not talking about the Chalukas HaShtar, we're not talking about Chalukas HaChayv, we're not talking here about Chalukas HaShibudim, definitely not Shibda Guf. The question is why. L'Chayra, what we're talking specifically is about the Mois HaSidais, and the Chiddush is that if you have the chayv, memela you are called. It's called the shvach of the chayv. And since it's called the shvach of the chayv, since you have the siba of that money, so it's al derech per mucheres and muskeres, and Rabbanan disagree. This seems to be the sugi at this stage. Okay, I'll drop this now. We'll continue next time. Okay, right. I do suggest seriously going through the sugya and Kuf Chav Dal carefully. The Taisus is very important. the super important Taisvis Gavlu. That don't go into Kuf Chaf Hey yet. That would be a big plunter. Okay, I think I sent you a whole sheet written in the WhatsApp group, which should give you a lot of marmakaimis as to defining these things. I'll give you an example. There's an interesting Gemara in Daf Lamed Vav Bab Kama. The Gemara says that if someone, hits somebody in the ear, and the halacha is that you have to pay a certain knas. The guy heard how much he was. He says, no, this is garnish. You know what I mean? Let it go for the aniyim. Then he said, nah, I don't mind having it for myself. So Rabbi Yossi was there, says, I'm sorry, it belongs to the aniyim already because I'm the gabay of the aniyim. Yad aniyim, I know they were zoicha. Oh, the Rishonim asked the question, what do you need it for? What do you need it for? Typically, he said, La aniyim, Amir l'gavoikim shir l'hedidami, it's mine and goodbye, Charlie. All the Rishonim asked the question. And all the Rishonim discuss that there's no way you can give a choiv before you have the money. The Rashi Taisus writes because it's davar shaloi bala olam. The choiv is here already. It's called davar shaloi bala olam. The Rif says it's called einoi b'shusai. Doesn't say it's einoi shaloi. It's called einoi b'shusai. The Balamar and the Ramban argue there. I really suggest you look that up because that is a big mucker to understand. What are we dealing with here? The chayv, the money. Here it's a shalai and a b'shusay. What is this? I do suggest you look up. I sent it in the WhatsApp sheet. It's a very important, big machlekes or rishonim b'kamel amid vav amid beis. Okay. Bye. Have a great one. See you. Take care.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you.
Yerushalayim.